Maintaining a personal practice is important because it will feed your business one in the same way that the commercial one, it will feed the personal. It's just like a two-way relationship.
Making personal projects helps you make more money because it goes into your portfolio, and often that work is what inspires brands and clients into hiring you.
I think it's important that you never lose the passion and the playfulness with photography or with your craft. In the moment that it becomes solidly about business, you take the risk of like losing all that playfulness and what drawn you to the profession in the first instance.
A particular project for me that highlights the best part of freelancing is my personal work through music and documenting different like rave culture. I can get booked in for a job, photographing a drum and bass rave, for instance, and then not see it as a personal project, but get there and see elements of it which I can then implement into my own personal work. So in reality, I got paid from doing a personal project, which was a commercial job. I looked at the images after and you're like, I actually enjoyed this a lot more, and you can tell I got better work because I thought it was a personal project. I felt it was a personal project. And you can take this on with any work you have. Implement aspects of your own love for your personal work into a commercial client, and that work will shine through.
But if you want to step up, you're going to have to get used to working with bigger teams. Getting to know the different roles on set is really useful in that regard as well, because then you can specifically ask people to do things. If you are very open-ended and vague about the help you need, then often people won't help you because they don't know what you want.
Never stop creating personal projects. That will go a long way, and it will always inform commercial practice. When you want to do the transition between personal work to commercial work, I think it's important to treat yourself professionally, regardless if you have done work or not. Act professional, respect yourself as a professional, and translate that to the people that you want to work with. Obviously, I will suggest to start small and just gain confidence in your work, but also working professionally is very different to do your personal work. So I think it takes a bit of fine-tuning.
So having a niche would mean you specialise in one particular thing. For example, you photograph dogs or you photograph boats. Early on in your career, you don't want to limit your potential. So I think having a niche to begin with may be counterintuitive. Instead, potentially you invest time in understanding what your tones are, what your themes are, how you visually approach different briefs.
I would say my niche would be the way my image is treated, like in Photoshop, in Capture One. All these things is what makes my work look like me. And then also all my composition of my photos are very quite similar. I don't realise that I'm doing it, but apparently it is. I've had quite a lot of feedback that my composition is very like the same in most of my shots. When I first started, I used to really go to town on retouching and making sure that all my pictures had a certain type of style in terms of changing the colours, making it dreamy. Like I was really I went to town experimenting in all these different things. And I found that quite a lot of time the commercial client just wanted the colours as is. And that was quite frustrating because I spent quite a lot of time editing. But as a result, I think it has developed my personal style, and it's not actually easy making everything look true to colour. So from there, I think that's really helped shape my niche, and it's ultimately from clients that you've worked with, how you've developed with them, your relationship with them, how they work. And majority of the time when you're working for editorial, for instance, a lot of the clients want the work immediately, so you don't have much time to edit. And you kind of need to find your niche like super quickly and just make something that looks fantastic in a really short space of time.
I think having some business insight into your goals is really important. So if you can identify some key brands that you would love to work for in your career, then that can start informing your visual research about what do they look for, which then informs what would you shoot, how would you shoot it, looking at what other people are putting out there and commissioners are putting out there will help you look at your own work with editor's eye to know whether something is successful or whether something is versatile enough to work for multi-formats or in multiple different languages and multiple different time zones.
You should offer a variety of services because you just don't know what you're going to be good at, to be honest. Like, when you first start out, you don't know what you're going to get booked for. You don't know what clients you're going to have. I think having a niche that works for you, that you can do as quickly as possible when you need to, is ultimately what's going to make you get booked.
In my mind, a niche is too limited a word to put on someone's entire career. So I think have a brand instead, be your brand. You should be looking at what other people do and critiquing it, analysing it. What makes that successful? What makes that attractive to you so that you can then start building your brand ideology. Having a niche that is open, like human interactions or human moments, or is your niche that you shoot reportage, or is it that you shoot action? Having an open niche could be really useful, because then that means your changes aren't totally shifting your brand identity. Because obviously if you're changing your brand identity, then you also need to shift how you market yourself, who you market yourself to, the tones that you're going to take in how you articulate that to people. So making big changes is definitely something to consider before doing it.
Everyone's got a niche, I'd say, but it's not so much of I take pictures of apples or I take just pictures of animals, because ultimately anyone that has a camera just likes taking pictures.
Emerging photographers should not be afraid to experiment.
Often when you end up working with different clients, they will also return a brief to you, which essentially is them pitching their ideas to you. And a lot of the time they would want you to comment on things or bring something different to it, alter it slightly. Not too much, because ultimately they know what they want, but they're always welcome to you trying to add some things to try and make it a little bit more unique.
I think it's a great place for you first assessing if you are a good fit.
Eventually everything comes down to pre-production when you work with clients rather than necessarily actually on the shoot day. The more you get worked out before, the easier the shoot is.
I think it's good to ask as many questions as you can when you see one, even to the silly ones. I think like sometimes we don't think about the minute questions, but they can add up and they can be important.
Working with clients, there's always loads of negotiation. You are collaborating briefly on something, but the end product has a specific goal and a specific use, which is commercial viability. So it can be really, really important to communicate clearly with each other through that process. The best way to keep track of things is often to have things in email, because then that also creates a legal standpoint for you to refer back to. If they forget something, or say that you didn't give them what they want, you can refer back to things.
Sometimes the brief can be very unbalanced on certain aspects that you're not comfortable with. You have to voice those concerns, because then it might be that creatively the brief is very interesting for you, but there is an aspect there that it doesn't align with your values. What shapes your career tends to be more the no's than the yes. So if you say yes to everything, that will shape your career. In sometimes in ways that you are not happy with. If you say no to the things that you think that align with you, they will shape your career way more in a way that you are happy with.
So a few top tips for working to a client brief. I think the main thing is to just work everything out in pre-production, make sure it's signed off, make sure the right person has signed it off. Sometimes people go, yeah, but actually you need a real confirmation from someone who is important to the shoot and the shoot going out. So make sure that everyone has seen it and agrees that it's okay to shoot it. I think working in pre-production well, creating mood boards, stretching the idea, writing a synopsis for the idea, I think that is probably the most important thing. And then spend the money wisely, not the money you earn, but spend their budget wisely. Don't spend on unnecessary things. And if they're really pinching the budget, which they all will do, make sure you spend it on personnel rather than equipment. I'd hire a gaffer, I'd hire an assistant, and I would hire a DIT. They would be the 3 people, if I could only pick 3 people to help me on a shoot, those are the 3 people that I would want.